Hello and welcome everyone. So in this short session, we are going to discuss about responsive web design. And what do I really mean by responsive web design? So when you actually develop a website, right, it can be viewed in various devices. Somebody can view it on a laptop, on a desktop, an iPad, an iPhone, and so on and so forth. So nowadays, it's quite critical that if you're creating a website, it should render smoothly on all these devices. The people who actually use, view it on an iPhone or a iPad should be able to smoothly view your content that you display on a website. So let me go ahead and give you an example of how a responsive site looks like. So if you go to Boston Globe, and this is just one example, you see that this is their general website. Okay, and you have a couple of menu over here, menu items. You have some content, you have some header, and so on and so forth. Now observe that when I start decreasing the resolution, the overall width of this page, how this page changes or adapts itself to various resolutions. And in short, it's kind of responsive. So let's see what happens when we shorten this to an iPad resolution. Observe the menu, right? It got switched to a hamburger button. This is basically called as an hamburger button. And let's see that again. So you see that this is the menu, and observe the menu. When I start decreasing the resolution, it switches. And also the content also changes, right? You might see three columns here, one for ads, and when you shorten this becomes two columns. And if you still shorten this, you see that it becomes one column, and at the same time your header shrinks. And it's more optimized when you go to lower resolutions, and still it doesn't really compromise your website. So this is what I mean by a responsive web design. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to use HTML5 and create a very simple website, right? Nothing so fancy. We're going to use CSS3, and then we'll try to make it a little bit more responsive. We will try to see how we can, write some CSS which will basically style your website for different resolutions. All right, so now let's go ahead and make a simple website, and you can use any text editor. I'm just using the Sublime Text. It's free, and it has a lot of packages that you can install to make your life more easier. So let me go ahead and just create a new document, and I'll call this as, let's see, let me put it over here, and we will just call this as a default.html. Okay, let's call this as responsive web design, and we'll call this default.html. Right. So we have an HTML file, and I'm going to just create a basic HTML5 document, and I'm going to call this as my site. Just keeping it very simple over here. Okay. Now let's plan out something. Let's create a website which looks something like this. We will put in a small header. We'll put in some navigation. All right, and then we'll at least have two columns. One can be some side content here, and then we'll have something for a main content. And let's throw in a footer also. So in a typical website, and let's see how we can create something similar to this. All right. So I generally like to wrap around all the divs into a main div. So let me just create a div, and I just like to call it as wrapper. Just give it a class, and this div will actually hold other divs as well. So initially, what I said is that it needs to have a header. So let's go ahead and create a div which is going to hold your header, and let's see. Let let's say welcome to, right, something like this. All right, and then let me close this div. Okay, so our header is done now. Now next we are going to create this navigation. So I'll go ahead and create another div, and let's put a nav tag inside that, which is going to hold my navigation elements. And navigation is nothing but, I'm just going to throw in a small unordered list over here and, put some sample links. Let's just call this as link and, excuse me, and let me just copy paste it a couple of times. And I think that should be enough. Okay, so all my tabs are closed. And then let's see in the browser how this looks like, and this should be pretty simple at this point. Okay, so we have your header, we have a couple of links, we got to take care of those two columns which we talked about, right? And let's do that. Let's go ahead and create a div which is going to my left side column, and let me let's see, let's put an aside tag over here, and let's call this as left aside content. All right. So now I need a div to hold my main content as well. And let's see, let's just throw in an article tag, right? Let's just play around with a couple of tags and see what works. So I'm going to put lorem ipsum text. And by the way, Sublime Text actually has these packages in which you can, use these shortcuts to put in lorem ipsum or to comment out code and stuff. It's a cool tool. And let me make sure that I close the article tag as well. Okay, so let's see how this looks in our browser. Okay, it looks, again, there's no styling as of now, and that's what we're going to do. And then finally, I'm going to also throw in a footer tag. And again, let me just wrap it into a div so that, we can compartmentalize things easily. And let's see, I'll call this as copyright 2015, all rights reserved. Perfect. Let's test this. Okay, we have all the content now. And now it's time to write our CSS. So I'm going to create a new file. Let me save this file, and I'm going to call this as default.c. All right. So now let's start from the basics. We told that wrapper is our main div which holds all our divs. So let's start some styling around that and see how it goes. So I'm going to introduce wrapper, and all right, let's give it a border. But I like to first give it a border so that it's easier to see what we are working with. And of course, Firefox, Chrome, and other browsers do have inbuilt tools, but I just like to start off with something like this. By the way, this is again a cool feature which I like. It immediately highlights what color you're using, and let's see how this looks. Okay, this didn't. Oh, provided I do link the CSS. So let me go ahead and refer the CSS link. Um, href, and then I called it what, default.css? Yes, default.css, and this is my style sheet. Now let's see if this works. Okay, so we have a red border. So that is the main wrapper that I talked about. All right, so I am a big fan of rounded corners, and CSS3 makes it so simple by introducing a small border radius. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's give a 15 pixel border radius. Okay, not cool, but we are improvising. Let's go ahead and give some margin, 40 pixels. That should be good. And also, let's go ahead and give some padding. And let's see. Okay, so shaping up, but still not so good. Let's go ahead and style this one, and this is our header tag. So I am going to style my header tag. Again, we haven't really reached a point where we are designing for responsiveness at this point. We're just styling, and then what we'll do is we will style this for different resolutions. All right. So let's go ahead and use, say, let me change the font family a little bit. And by the way, I'm a big fan of the Google fonts, and you could just use a import statement and use the Google fonts. Check it out, google.com/fonts, I believe, and it's really cool. But let's just keep it simple for now. Okay, the font changed, and now what I need to do is let's get rid of all these bullets, and let's position this horizontally. So I am going to, I believe it was a nav element. Yes. So let's style these elements. So nav alive. Okay. And first of all, I need this to be displayed in line. So, basic. Um, let's see if that worked. Okay, that didn't work. So, oh, because I didn't save it. Okay. Now let's try to give a little bit of padding, and let's see how that works. Okay, and let's go ahead and give a background color, and I'll call this as light gray. Okay. All right, and I believe that should be fine. Um, Again, if you have hyperlinks here, you can create a hover effect and so on and so forth. But let's just keep it very simple for now. All right. Next, what we need to do is we need to have the left side content here as a separate column, and all these main content as a separate column. So they should be kind of side by side that we talked about, like this one and this one. So let's attack that. Okay. Now, let me give it a class name so that I can easily refer to this, and I'm going to call this as left aside. Okay. And then likewise, what I also need to manipulate my main content, so I'm going to just give it a name. Just give it any name, main content. All right. And then let me write some styles for left aside. And for all, I need to float it left. All right. And let's see if that worked. Okay, that worked. And then again, let's give it a border. And again, I'm a big fan of rounded borders, so I'm going to give it a solid green border. And I'm going to give it a small radius, border radius as say 10 pixels. Okay, not bad, but not good. So let's see what we can do. We would of course like no content to go underneath this, so let's try to give it a small height, like something like 400 pixels or something. So that'll occupy some space. And then of course, the text over here looks a little crumpled, so I'm going to give it some amount of padding. Um, let's see how that works. Give it a padding of 10 pixels. Okay, still better. And then finally, what I'm going to do is let's also just give it a small adjustment to its font. Okay, comparatively, this looks better, but still nowhere near what we want to achieve. And then let's go ahead and manipulate our main content as well. Okay, again, let's see. Let's start with a border and see how it goes. I'll give a 1 pixel border, and let's see, solid and differentiate. Let's give a blue border, and our border color is, let's see, okay, let's give a border radius, 10 pixel radius, and let's see how this looks. All right, so this is overlapping a lot of stuff, and we need to adjust that a little bit. So I am going to let's change the font size a little bit so that it looks pretty. And let me go ahead and give a little bit of margin so that it adjusts the content. So let's try with 150 pixels. Whether that works? No. 200. Okay, 220, better. So we have some content, and again, but the copyright thing is kind of a little bit irritating, so we need to take care of that as well. Okay, I also need to make sure my overflow is auto. All right, so for the footer, let's go ahead and clear both sides, and that should take care of its placement. All right, so we have a website now. Not very pretty, but still something that we can work with. But now, look, this is not responsive, right? It starts, you see that the menu starts overlapping and the content starts getting distorted and, so on and so forth. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make it more responsive. The way you do it is basically using something called as media queries. Media queries is nothing but you define between two resolutions, what styling should be applied, right? Like if you are looking at a tablet, do you really need all the columns, or can you hide some of the columns? So let's look at an example where we target tablets. So the way it's written is media only and screen, and my minimum width should be say 480 pixels. Okay, and let's say my maximum width is say 767. 768 is say desktop. Whatever code I write would be basically applied for resolutions between 480 and 767. Okay, so let's take a very simple example. If this, let's just put a small comment, tablet, and again you can actually write many media queries for different resolutions. So I would say my main content should increase in font to 20 pixels if that particular resolution is hit. And let's see how this looks like. Okay, I didn't save this and I do that again and again. Let's see now if it works. It probably didn't. Let's revisit what is the issue. Pixels is that. Okay, this works. Probably we didn't actually, we couldn't see it, but okay, so that is working. So the same concept, right? We just write a couple of scripts that would be fired when some when you're between those resolutions. So first and foremost, I need the border to be gone for iPad. It just looks ridiculous. So I need to remove my border, and let's see if this makes any difference. Okay, better, a little bit better. And okay, and let's see what else we can do. We need to say the left side. Let's just hide it. We don't need this for iPad. So let's say my visibility should be hidden, and okay, one more thing. Position should be absolute. All right, so this is hidden, but again, you see that there is some spacing here, so that can be adjusted. We just um, say that my margin. Okay, so this is how it'll look on an iPad. And if you go to a desktop again, you see two columns and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So what else can we do? We can style the footer a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. Um, and let's say the footer size should decrease a little bit, so to 10 pixels. And then I also need the font family to be something else so that we can see the difference. Um, okay, let's center it. So it just looks more pleasing. So center, and then let's see. Okay, let's try to shift it a little bit down. So I will give a top margin. Oops. Or is it called margin top, I believe. Yep, margin top of 10 pixels. And okay, this looks good, right? It's not very good or anything, but it looks good. So let's go ahead and just style, you know, for phones now, for lower resolutions. And the concept is the same. You just write another media query. You say that media only and, you know, clean. And you say that your max width shouldn't exceed, say, what did we use? 480, right? So let's just use 479 pixels. And whatever style you write here basically gets executed when you're at mobile resolution. So let me just follow the same rule. Let's go ahead and the main content and say that I need it. Let's see, how does it look. Okay, let's take care of the main content. um Let me hide the left side on the resolution so that we have some um, clarity to work with. I'm going to say should be hidden and my position should be absolute. All right, let's see. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove that ugly border. The border should be none. Okay, and then let's shift it to the left. So I'm just going to give a negative margin. Okay, that looks good now. And then let's see. Hmm, we can probably leave it this way, or we can try to let's just leave it this way for now. And then the header looks a little bit out of order, so let's go ahead and just change the font to 10 pixels or something so that it looks good on mobile devices. Or probably it doesn't look good. Anyway, so all right, so one thing you notice over here, you can play around with different resolutions. It keeps changing. This is pretty much a responsive design. And one of the things you might observe over here is the menu, right? Menu looks a bit ugly. You need the menu to be changed at different resolutions. So one of the common ways they do it is use this hamburger button. So I'm going to use that, and let's just see how that works. So let me copy this, and okay. And the concept is pretty simple. We just put this as an image in our HTML and then hide it or unhide it at different resolutions, right? So it's just basic stuff. So below the menu, below our nav, what I'm going to do is I am going to create another nav, and so that I put it correctly. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this image. Um, Source is equal to hamburger button dot, what was JPEG or PNG? It was PNG. So PNG, and then let's see if this makes any difference. Okay, we have a button. All we are going to do is hide or unhide at different resolutions so that it renders correctly. All right, so um, let's go ahead and give this a class. Let's say that it will be for devices which is 480 to 767. Okay, and this, let's give it a class, and let's say that it should be for devices greater than 787, sorry, 767 or 68, let's say. 68. So I have introduced two classes, and what I'm going to do is for tablets, right? For tablets, I need the main menu, the menu that is displayed for desktops, to be hidden. So this should be hidden for tablets. So I'm going to say for tablets, um, 768 visibility should be hidden. Perfect. Let's see if this worked. Okay, this worked. Still, we can shift this a little bit up. So let's give it a negative margin, negative top margin. Let's say minus 50. Try that out. Okay. So we have and again, you can easily write some JavaScript like click event or something, which will open up a menu. That's a totally different, concept. And, I'm not going to go into that in detail. And again, when you actually expand it to desktop, you'll find both. So this time we'll do the other way around. For desktops, I don't think we have a desktop. We've written anything for desktops, right? So let's create a new media query. And all we're going to do is hide that menu. So I'm going to say if my minimum width is at least 768 pixels, then go ahead and hide my hamburger button. So I gave it 480, 757, and I'm going to just say visibility is hidden. Perfect. Okay, so for desktop, this works fine. You go to tablet, you find that this gets rendered this way. And for phones, again, you need to just follow the same principle for phones as well. So let me go ahead and quickly do that. Um, I think you just need to hide 768, sorry. Perfect. Okay, so this is done. And actually, I can shift it a little bit up so that it looks good by giving a negative margin, top margin of minus 50 pixels, and that should take care of that. All right, so this is something very basic, but imagine that you have some picture in your website, right? Some small photo, and you need the photo sizes to be different at different resolutions. So, of course, one way would be to have those multiple photos in your page and then hide or unhide it. But the downside of doing that is you will be consuming bandwidth. Essentially, you're downloading all the photos, right? So, all you're doing is hiding or unhiding it. So there are various techniques in which, you can, um, render a photo depending upon what resolution you are using. So let's go ahead and insert some pictures over here. And one of the places where we can find some pictures is Place Kitten, and it just gives you a URL, and that'll basically render just an image. So I believe there are a lot of such sites, and you just pass in the resolution over here, and it will give you an image. So I'm going to use this, and insert a small picture. Okay. So let's see. Before that, I also wanted to introduce one small concept. There is a responsive image rendering um, technique. It's called picture fill. You can find the documentation here. And all you need to do is you need to kind of, insert a JavaScript. And then, it'll start into rendering only those images which your resolution supports right now. So it's actually very simple. You just need to download a small. Let's see. Let's quickly read it. Picturefilmin.js. So let me go ahead and just include this small JavaScript into my code. So text picturefill.min.js. All right, and Notepad. Okay, so and I have to make sure that I kind of include this into my code as well. So let me see if they have given any script for this. Okay, I'll go ahead and insert this small script. Okay. And what are they saying? Once you insert that, blah, 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 then this is your picture element. Okay. So I'm going to insert that picture in my article. Of course, this will not work now because that those images don't exist. But we'll use our place kitten URL to kind of manipulate this. So um, let's just try out a few things, few resolutions. I will try out 408 slash 287. Okay, that's a bigger one, and then 300 cross 200 we saw, and then let's just use this. Okay, and then this one. Basically, you are giving image path for different resolutions, right? And it's a very simple technique. Okay, and let me go ahead and just change the resolutions here. So we accommodate for smaller resolutions as well. And I might need to style this a little bit. So in case I need to, I'll just give it a class name so that if I need to refer to this or something, I can do that. All right, so we are pretty much set here. And if I start reducing this, it will basically, just render the small image. And this is for your iPhones. Looks cool. And if you want to just do something like hiding for iPhones, and you'd really want to save on bandwidth and not, render this, you can go ahead and say image, and then visibility is hidden, and then shift the content a little bit up so that it renders correctly. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, this looks good, and then I can probably give a negative margin of whatever minus 50 pixels or let's say 200. Okay, so this is your responsive website. So we created something in HTML5, and we wrote some CSS scripts. We saw how to manipulate your rendering depending upon what resolution you're looking at. We looked at menu changes. We looked at image rendering at different resolutions. So this is the very simplest approach how you could design your own responsive website. I hope you like the videos, and I will try to record some more on different CSS tricks as well. Thank you very much.